At the state capitol, lawmakers overwhelmingly passed Jennifer's Law today on the Senate floor. The bill is named after missing mother Jennifer Dulos, as well as another Jennifer, Jennifer Magnano, a mother who was killed in 2007 by her estranged husband in front of her children. The bill would expand the definition of domestic violence to include coercive control, which includes a pattern of behaviors and abuse that aren't physical but can include isolation, intimidation, and stalking. The bill passing with strong bipartisan support, 35-1.
It is past time to recognize the reality and the full scope of what domestic violence really looks like. It is much more than black eyes and bruises. It is a form of terrorism. It can happen to anyone at any time, but mostly it happens to women and children of every color and in every community.
Senator Alex Kasser, who introduced the bill, says the pandemic has only increased the need for stronger protection, saying Connecticut statistics show the use of domestic violence services increased by 600% during the pandemic. The bill now heads to the House. Now, the bill gained national attention when actress Evan Rachel Wood testified in front of a state Senate committee in support of Jennifer's Law. The Westworld actress getting personal, discussing her own experience in an abusive relationship. Recently, she revealed her abuser was singer Marilyn Manson. He has denied those claims.
A former friend